Hi everyone. If you are watching my videos for the first time, so my name is Teja and welcome to my channel. This is the continuation video for the rack setup we are doing from the scratch. So if you are watching this video directly, I suggest you to go through the previous two videos and come back to this session because the RAG architecture is divided into two things. One is setting up a knowledge base and another one is querying your knowledge base. So the first section is already completed, so we have our knowledge base readily available. So in this video the agenda is to query the knowledge base which we have created and get the respective answers from those knowledge base. So in the process of querying the database, so the user will be asking a question and the question will be converted into the vectors by using this embedding model. So the same way how we have performed it on the knowledge base, so the question will be converted into the vectors. So why we are converting this into the vectors? Because our knowledge base vector database is stored with the vectors. So the vector database is not having any data. It is stored with the vectors. So that's why we are converting our question into the vectors. And these vectors are going to search on the vector database. When you search these vectors on the vector database, so we are going to get the relevant chunks which are required for the user question. So in the third step, so we are going to search the vectors on the vector database. So the output is the chunks. And once you have the relevant chunks which is retrieved, so we are going to assign the chunks and the user question to the LLM. In the fourth step, so we have to pass the user question and the retrieved chunks from the vector database to the LLM, and then the LLM is going to provide us the answer. So if you look at the flow, the user will be asking the question. The user question will be converted into vectors in the second step by using embedding model. And that vectors is going to be searched again as the vector database. And once the search has been completed, we are going to get the chunks. So we are going to pass these chunks and the user question to the LLM. So that LLM will provide the fine grade answer as an output. So we have to write a logic for this whole retrieval and getting the answer from the LLM. So if you look at the higher level, there are two things here. The first thing is getting the chunks which are available in the vector database. That is nothing but retrieving. That's why we have abbreviation of RAG as retrieving. Augmented. So augmented is nothing but adding. So we are adding our user question to the chunks which are already retrieved and we are passing it to the LLM. This LLM is generating the answer. So in the RAG we have retrieval, augmented, generation. So retrieval is going to be done on the vector database. So the augmented is going to be done by assigning this user question and the chunks to the LLM, and the LLM will takes care of generation. Retriever augmented generation. So LLM will takes care of generating the fine grade answer by using the chunks and the user query which you have provided. So are we clear why it is defined as RAG retrieve augmented generation? I hope it is clear. If you have any queries, please comment on the comment box. Okay, so for this chroma, we have defined an object called vector store. So we are calling the vector store, and this chroma is a class. So this class is already available in our previous knowledge base. So we have called the same chroma class, and then we used embedding function, and this is the embeddings which we are gonna use for converting our question to the vectors. And then the collection name, the same collection name what we have used in the knowledge base, and the persistent directory is the folder where you have stored your knowledge base data. And once you have the vector store ready, and we need to retrieve the question from the vector store. So if you want to retrieve, so we will be creating one more object called retriever, and then we are going to use this vector store and a method called as retriever to retrieve the answers from this vector store. But right now we are not passing anything. Just we have created an object called retriever, and we are going to use another method called retrieve docs. So we are calling one more object which is retrieve docs, and in this retrieve docs, so we are going to invoke our question. So it is giving some suggestions to get questions, but that's not the correct method. So I will be using invoke method. So what I have done now, so we have created an object called embeddings, and we called our vector store, and in the vector store we are using the same embeddings and the directory which is already available, and we created an object, and the object is going to query or retrieve the vector store. But here we didn't provided any question, so we have used invoke method to pass the question to the vector store, and we are storing it under retrieve docs. So when you pass your question here, so it is going to search for the relevant chunks, and it is going to provide the relevant chunks. That's why I'm calling it as docs. So now we have the embeddings vector store and the retrieved docs object, and another thing we need to define is LLM. So LLM is for generation, so we have to call LLM. So we'll be using chat Google Generative AI class, and I'm not going to use this chat bison. I am going to use the model, the LLM model, which is from GCP. I'm going to use Flashlight, Gemini 2.5 Flashlight. So here we have one more challenge. So when you are asking anything to the LLM, so the LLM has a disadvantage of making its own story or hallucination. So we have to ground that hallucination. So to ground that, we will be using prompt. So we will be prompting the LLM stating that, so don't make up any answers if the context is not available in the vector database, or if the data is not available in the vector database. So for that we will be using chat templates, chat prompt templates. I will be using chat prompt templates from, not messages, from template. And in here I am going to ground the hallucination. So I will be just giving some context stating that you are a helpful assistant for answering the questions based on the provided context. So I have to pass in the chunks, right? So instead of assigning all these retrieved documents, what I am going to do, I am going to create one more thing called context, and whatever the documents which I got it from this retrieved docs, I'm adding all those into a single single document, and I am passing it to the context by using chunk, and I am trying to add by using dot join. So this dot join method is going to get all the documents from this retrieved docs and add it to a single object called context. So instead of assigning all the docs one after another, I can assign a single doc which is in the context. So in this prompt template, I am going to tell that, so you are a helpful assistance for answering questions based on the context. So this is the context I have defined here, and use the context, use only the context, or use the context to answer the question. So it is already giving some suggestions. Let me use the same. I will be using 3 quotes because I'm using multiple lines here. Okay, you are a helpful assistance for answering questions based on the provided context. So this is the context. Use the context to answer the question. So I am asking LLM to only use the context. If the context doesn't contain the answer, I'm stating that please respond, I don't know, and my context is context and the question is question. So this is the prompt. I'm going to pass it to the LLM, so in order to ground the LLM from hallucination. And there are 2 things here. So if you look at this architecture, so we have to do 2 things. We have to add this question and this chunks to the LLM. So if you want to do multiple things, so in the LangChain we have a concept called chaining. So when you use chain, so you can pass the prompt directly to the LLM. So the prompt has a context which is already defined. So this context and this prompt and the question will be passed to the LLM by using chain. And to the chain, I will be passing my question. So I am not going to pass the question to the LLM. I will be passing the question to the chain object by using invoke method, chain.invoke, and in here I will be providing my question. Right now I am not giving any question here because I want to provide the user to enter their question so that the question will be taken as an input and it will be passed to the query method. So I will be assigning this result of chain.invoke to the result object. And to print, I will be using print result dot content. So whatever the output I am getting, from that output I am going to get the content out of the result. So now I have the vector store and I have the retrieve documents in the form of context, and I am passing my question to the chain by using invoke. But how can I input the question? So in Python we can call this dunder name equal to dunder main. So if you run this pipeline, I mean if you run this rag script, so you're going to use whatever functions you have placed under this dunder name equal to dunder main. So here you can use two methods. One is ingestion and another one is query. The query has a variable which has to be passed, which is question. So I am not going to pass question directly with the hard coded. I want to give an option to the user who is running this script has to input their answer. So ingestion, which is already done, so that's why I am commenting the ingestion method. So we already have the knowledge base, and before this question I will use something called as question equal to input and then enter your question. So when you run this script, so you will be seeing a prompt, enter your question, and then user will be entering the question, and that question will be passed to this query method, and this whole query method starts. So in this query method, so we are going to pass this question to the chain.invoke by using prompt and LLM. So everything will go one after another. So whatever we have written till now. So can we try our luck whether this script is working or not? If it is not working, so we have to troubleshoot. Nothing other than that. So we will be using uv run rag.py. It has some issues. Import Google's generative embeddings. Yeah, some extra data here. So we need to look for one more thing here. So this Google generative AI embeddings is already available here. That is fine. But if you look at the LLM, so we are using one class called chat Google generative AI. So this is under red. So that means that package is not, that class is not called. So we have to call that class. And what else are under red? This chart prompt template. Okay. So this chart prompt template is coming from a package called LangChain, not prompts, LangChain underscore core.prompts import chart prompt template. So this class is coming from this package. So now it has to turn to the green. Yeah, chart prompt template is green, and chat Google generative AI is also green. Any other red icons? Context. Use this, right? Context I have used here. Okay, let me run this. It should ask me for a question. So if you look at our knowledge base documents we have uploaded to the ChromaDB, so this has something called employee leave policy. So here it has the details of leave policy. So I will be querying something on that. How many sick leaves I can take? So it has some issues. So before it is getting called, let me go to the code here. I think, yeah, here there is an issue. So we should not pass the question to the chain. So we should pass context and the question. So these two has to be passed to the LLM. So I have used only the question. So now I have changed it to the context and the question. Let me save this. Let me do one thing. Let me clear the screen. And now see UV run. I'm writing the code on behalf of you because it will be helpful for me as well, and also for you as well. For me it is reiteration, and for you, if there are any issues I am facing while I am writing the code, so we will be solving it then and there. So I will be entering my query, how many sick leaves I can take. See, the answer is I can take 12 sick leaves as per calendar year. Let me go to the document and see about the sick leaves. So that I can see casual leaves, leave entitlement. Yeah. So 12 sick leaves I can take per calendar year. So you can ask another question as well. For suppose, so what the prompt we have provided, if the context is out of this knowledge base, so it has to tell I don't know. Let me ask who won IPL this year, and let's see what this rag will say, whether it hallucinate and get the answer from the internet or the knowledge it has, or else it will say I don't know. See, we have put some grounded to the hallucination, or you can say some rules, so that if the answer is not available in the context, it should say I don't know. Okay, this is our first rag we have created. Let me go to the architecture. So this is the whole rag architecture. We have created it from scratch, and I'm not providing any code to you on the video or on the comments, because I suggest you to write from the scratch, so that you will encounter some errors and you will spend some time. So when you are spending some time on the issues, you will get better idea so what is happening on the whole lower level, like how the things are moving from one block to another block. But if you feel, if you need the whole code, what we have discussed from the past 3 sessions, please comment in the comment box so that I can provide you the GitHub link so that you can use the code. I hope it is clear. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.